I always find I use the basic shapes like hearts, stars, circles and squares from my sticker sheets and die cut packs, but not the more random or organic shapes from the different motifs. Those items are really starting to stack up in my stash, and I'm particularly perplexed by those with a white halo. I wish I knew how to use them more often. Glitter Girl, can you help?
Of course I can. Today, to illustrate that idea of how to work with things that are shaped but are not just plain shapes like circles, rectangles, and labels, and especially things that have a halo, I'm going to use the Hazelwood collection from One Canoe to an American Crafts. And I have this big sticker sheet, which I have not started to use at all, and this die cut pack, which I've only used a couple pieces from. So go ahead and get that out, but you'll be able to see that this is definitely a collection that has lots of shapes and they all have halos. So I have a variety of words here with gold foil. I have some flowers and some butterflies, some labels, some keys, a jar, a strawberry, bicycle, a globe. Yeah, quite a few floral pieces there. Some bunting pieces which are on the sticker sheet as well. And the sticker sheet and the die cut pack do look like they're going to work together really well. Yeah, so I'm going to put all of these to the side. And I'm starting with one of the papers from the same collection. So this is the B side, and that is my very first tip. So here's the A side, which is beautiful, but it's not going to work with what I'm going to want to do, because if I'm going to be adding things that are all different shapes and they don't have that real simplicity of just circles and rectangles and squares and things like that, and then this pattern is probably a bit too much to take it all in. It could work, but it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be simpler if I start with something that is simpler. So my suggestion would be that if these sorts of shapes give you a little bit of trouble, always start with something that's quite minimal in the background. So it might be that you start with white or other color solid cardstock, or if you like pattern, you start with something like this that's single color and white, or one other color like black or gray or craft. And not a lot of busyness going on. So I like patterns like this because they read like a solid, but they have the texture of a pattern. And I'm going to be using one big photo. Now, I'm going to say right now, it has a giant butterfly on it. If this is going to give you the creeps, I have two suggestions before I show you. Well, one, I'll tell you, the butterfly was very calm and happy and nothing untoward happened. But my other two suggestions, if giant close-up photos of insects would bother you, is one, pretend this is not a 12 by 12 page and it's really, really small, and therefore the picture is not 12 inches tall. It's really tiny. Maybe I'm working on a 3 by 3 page. Does that help ease your mind at all? Yeah, I was hoping it would, but I was kind of doubtful too. The other suggestion I have is to look away now, because I'm going to be using that giant butterfly for the rest of this layout. I hope there are not too many of you that have an issue with that. Okay, here's my picture. Butterfly. So giant butterfly on my finger. This photo it's on an A4 sheet, but I've trimmed it down. This is the ratio of what happens if you post a picture on Instagram stories. So I suppose it's mostly phone shaped. And I just decided that instead of blowing it out and making it wider, I just quite liked how it looked, even though this is not a size that I would normally use. So it's thinner than A4, but I printed it on A4. Just for fun, I'll tell you how wide that is in just a second here. It is 6.5. So it's 11 3/4 by 6.5. Okay, and I'm going to put it on this side of the page. And basically, my plan is to not use any other pattern paper. I'm going to stick with this. I might put it all the way over here to the side. And just have a nice balanced frame, those three sides. And I wanted to look for something that was green or yellow but go in a softer tone. I found it easier to match the green with a softer tone. It seemed more forgiving than the yellows. I picked out a bunch of different soft yellows and they just seemed to clash and not agree. But the green seemed to complement a bit better. I thought with this kind of butterfly, you could go with browns and oranges, but I thought it would get very moth-like and earthy really quickly, and it is a butterfly, not a moth, even though it has brown on it. So I wanted to go with the more colorful option. Okay, then I want to bring in all these different kinds of shapes. So I'm going to build on this central line, and I want to include a variety of things here. So let's pull out what I've got. I have how many butterflies? I think the strawberries are a bit removed, so I'll keep those for something else. But I'm looking at these flowers. Some of these sentiments probably not going to work. Bicycle, probably not. But I've got butterflies. I've got more flowers there. Oh, there's another butterfly here. And then I've got this sticker sheet. I might actually put the keys in because I know there's no real challenge if I'm only using things that are really, really obvious. I've got leaves there. From the sticker sheet, I'm going to be able to bring in things that are a bit more neutral in shape, not in color, but in shape. So I could bring in these sorts of little label pieces, and I've got labels here. So that will give me a balance between those odd shapes and things that are more settled to the eye, the things that you're used to looking at. Hopefully that will help me balance all up. Okay, and I want to be able to have a little bit of movement, and I don't want to encroach on the photo too much, even though I think I want it to start about here with that biggest piece, but I don't want anything to come anywhere near as far in as that one goes. And then I'm just going to build from there. Normally I would start inking everything, but because these are all such odd shapes and they have all these little tiny pieces like this and they have the halos, the inking is actually way more difficult in something like this than all those normal plainer shapes that I tend to use. So I'm not going to ink today, and I'm going to see how that works out. Okay, I'm just going to start with that largest piece there and then start building. So let's see if I tuck flower behind there. So what I'm looking at is I don't want that. See how there's like a little bit of the background paper showing through? Unless I'm going to go back and cover that up, that's not useful. So I'm going to tuck it all the way behind there so that it will just have a little bit more polish to it and not have these little odd spots that catch your eye and point out the halos and the odd shapes and all of that. Okay, so then I've got this kind of flower. So I could go, oh, that was quite cute to have that tuck in like that. Okay, did I stick this well enough? Yeah, that's okay. That leaf there, but undo that one. Okay, so now I have this spot here, which is not great. I don't love that. So I'm going to come back with something for there. And let's bring in a little bit of random. So let's have some keys. I think I might put that on top, so I want something else underneath. Let's put a butterfly there. Come down to here so that I can see where my little edges are here. And get him just so. I know I've got this spot, but it's going to be behind that key. So I've got a butterfly and two florals. Butterflies are both facing the same direction, so I want to make sure the next one goes the other way. Alright, and what do I want behind there? looking at something like this type of shape. Okay, and some pop dots for the key, because that way I can emphasize the layering and have it not feel completely flat on the page. Just need to chop one in half because the top of the key is a little bit smaller and more delicate. So that spot that I want to cover. Don't hugely love that the center is cut out there. Just wondering about putting some gold behind it. But don't think that's my answer. I think for now I'll leave that and come back to it in a moment. Okay, what about this big yellow butterfly? Oh, that I want to go this direction. So here I have this space and I have a few options. If I were to place him further down like this, I don't like this space because it's trapped. If I place him further up and more angled so that this connects out here, this space is opened up, it's not trapped like that, that's more pleasing to my eye. And that's not a hard and fast rule, it's definitely a case of what you do and don't like. But I think that's a good illustration of where my happiness lies in creating little clusters of things. And let's get some flowers going behind there. Green one. I think I need another leaf to come out from this side. And the blue. I haven't touched this, no, I've barely touched the stickers at this point. Die cuts are getting a workout though. So far I have 2 of these bunting shapes and they're the same color. I like that they're not completely exactly the same length, that they're a little uneven. But I would like a third one, and I don't have another green one on the sticker sheet. My sticker sheet option, the best option, is black and white. Or I do have one more green one, but it's a die cut rather than a sticker. So just going to have a look at these and see what's better. So there's the black and white. But I think, yeah, I like the green better. So I'm going to use the green one down here. Just straighten it out a little bit. And let's see what else can build up there at the top. I think that's just the same flower a third time recolored, so I don't really want to use that same exact one. So maybe I do need to go to the stickers now to have a look at those florals. For example, this one curves in the other direction compared to the others. So that could be a nice little finishing touch up here. Although I think the better bet is to do the flower first, and then that banner. Oops, oops, oops. Come on. Okay, so that's stuck for good. I didn't mean for it to be. It might be. Okay. This one. That right behind it. And this one needs to come back in here in the middle. Oh, and I need to get this green one. Okay. I suppose there's probably an easier way to have done that, but hey. Get there in the end, just looking at all those edges to make sure I don't end up with odd little pockets. Okay, 1 butterfly, 2 butterflies, 3 butterflies, but I did kind of want to add in a third one, or a fourth one, I mean. Let's see about this green up here. Do I tuck it in between all these flowers that I keep messing with? Why not? Can go right. Oh, see, I'm getting little pockets everywhere. So I need to bring it right down to about there. Okay. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on there. Having a look then at other little things that I can add in to give it a bit of balance and I almost want to say normality. The shapes that are just a little bit more plain. So I can add in a little bit of yellow there. And then bring the yellow up here to the top with some foam squares. So I'm just trying to build so that everything overlaps, but nothing has gaps that I don't like. For example, I've ended up with a little bit here that I don't love, so I'm just going to remedy it by tearing it off. Gone. And I've got this spot here in the middle that's become quite plain compared to the rest, which is fine for balance, but does give me the opportunity to add a little bit more. So why not? Just looking at colors because I've used that blue in the key and I haven't really used it much elsewhere, so it just seems like it would be pleasing to repeat it. This is coming together much quicker without inking, it has to be said. I do love the look of inking all my layers of paper and things like that, but this is a lot of layers very fast. And then I wondered about bringing in gold to these little corners. So we could do 3 little gold hearts. One up here. I've got one big one, so that could go in that little corner there. I don't want to close it up entirely though, so leave it a little bit open. I'd like to bring in something with this key to make it feel a little bit more connected, and I think I can do it with the yellow. So if I bring in a little bit more texture by tying some yellow twine around the key. I know I could tie it up there, but I don't know. My instinct was just to tie it around the middle, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, brings the yellow in a little bit. I do want to add a title and journaling here. I've got space here, and I of course could write on top of this photo, but I don't think I'll need to. Just looking to see, do I want to add anything more, or should I go ahead and stop there? So I think I will, and then I need to think about what I'm going to write. So I could do, oh, that fits so well with those nice little gaps there. So I'm going to go with that, but I need to finish that title because that just as a one word I don't think is great. And so let's go from there. And I have a subtitle here, and then I'll work out if I need top and bottom for journaling. And the other thing I want to do here is I think that the journaling in white will keep it nice and light. If I have to go darker, if the white is not visible, then I'll go with gray and try to keep it as light as possible. But I think black will just make it really heavy, even though there's black here, because the white halos are actually working in favor of that and making it a lot airier instead of having the cut line all be on the black. So I think by keeping it white, then that will make the halos seem perfectly normal. Well, the white pen was not visible, so I did go with gray, but I was able to make the rest of the title quite light with some blast from the past white making memories letter stickers from a long time ago, but still a favorite of mine. That's pretty much everything that I think this needs. So my big tip for using supplies like this is to mix them all together so that you're using lots of those organic shapes with those white borders. Balance it with a few things like labels and bunting pennants, and look for those awkward gaps. Use something in the background that's pretty subtle so that you aren't fighting against lots of shapes in your background, and try to pick up on that same idea of the halos and the organic shape in your title and see if that helps. I think you could still do this same idea with without one giant picture. You could have a series of photos here in a stack, be them squares or 4x6 landscape pictures there. Or you could just bring it down to a smaller scale, and if you only had, say, one photo that took up about that much space, you would just use about that much sticker, and you would or die cuts, and you would have a lot more open space on your page. You could also put more pieces into this sort of composition if you wanted to then dress it up with enamel dots and gems, or build in more pieces. If gaps like this are not pleasing to you and you want to add more, then by all means you just keep layering them until you are happy with how much is there. I hope that demystifies those shapes. If you have a question or you want to share what you've been scrapping, be it in response to this or just anything that you've been working on, please pop over to our Facebook group. That's called Scrapbook Like a Superhero. You'll find a link below on the YouTube video. Thanks so much for watching. Keep the questions coming, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.